welcome, ladies and gentlemen. Namaste, assalamu alaikum, good evening, good night, or good morning to all of you. We are so pleased to have people at this meeting from all parts of the world in different time zones, and we do apologize for the late start. We were having some technical difficulties. So it seemed to have been resolved right now, and we are ready to continue with the program. I am Shakira Mohammed of Trinidad and Tobago, teacher for the past 17 years, and ladies and gentlemen, this is the 273rd edition of our ICC Thought Leaders Forum. So we wish to sincerely thank all of you who have contributed in whatever way to the success of this ongoing Pan-Indo-Caribbean and Pan-Indian Diaspora Global Project. For 272 unbroken continuous weeks, we have been here every single Sunday, and in the past 5 years, 3 months and 1 week, we have featured 1,102 presenters from all parts of the world, speaking on 272 topics. So, ladies and gentlemen, this is a weekly forum being hosted by the Indo-Caribbean Cultural Center, a legally registered research and publishing company operating since 2010. And like today, we often partner with the Amina Ghafoor Institute for the Study of Indentureship and its legacies, led by Professor David Davidine. In order to continue this weekly program and to make it bigger and better, we are kindly asking for suggestions and volunteers. If you give your donation, your name will be placed on our poster and all promotional materials, and you can contact Dr. Kumar Mahabir for details. So I'll introduce our moderator today, who is Shalama Mohammed, the co-director of this ICC Zoom platform, who is a business teacher and researcher from Trinidad and Tobago. She obtained her master's degree in business psychology from Franklin University in the USA. She has left South Africa and is now in the Netherlands and have participated in the conference and tour of South Africa. So Shalama, welcome.
Thank you so much, Shakir. Assalamu alaikum, everyone. Namaste and a warm welcome to all of you. I want to say thank you very much for choosing to be here with us. Just a reminder that we are recording on Zoom and live streaming on the YouTube channel of the Indo-Caribbean Cultural Center. Welcome to all of you on YouTube at this time. As is normally the case, to avoid intrusions from trolls, our IT manager has muted everyone. So speakers, please do not admit anyone, do not unmute anyone, and do not allow anyone to share your screen. We appreciate your cooperation. Today, we are featuring presentations and the closing of the International Conference on Indentures in South Africa. The event was held in commemoration of the 165th anniversary of the arrival of Indian indentured laborers to the colony of Natal. The 1860 Indentured Laborers Foundation, Verulam, the 1860 Indian Arrival to Natal Local Organizing Committee, South Africa, in partnership with us, the Indo-Caribbean Cultural Center of Trinidad and Tobago, reflected on the journey of indentured laborers to the 6th Industrial Revolution. It was our pleasure to co-organize and participate in the Indian Diaspora Tour of South Africa as well. It was a 3-day conference and an 8-day tour of the country, discovering the beautiful sights, the vibrant sounds, and delicious flavors of the vibrant multi-ethnic nation. But more importantly, what we built was a family. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to invite, first of all, Ms. Hazel Lutchman to give the vote of thanks, and then we will show excerpts of the closing of the conference. Hazel filled a very important role for that entire event. She was the secretary of the local organizing committee and the go-to person, or rather, one of the many go-to persons who were there for us. Hazel, welcome. You can go ahead.
Thank you, Shalima. Namaste, namaskar. Good evening, everybody. Assalamu alaikum and sawubona. Welcome to South Africa, the land of togetherness, unity, and Ubuntu. Are you ready with my presentation? Or do you want me to share?
Shakir could share for you. Yes, she's doing that now.
Thank you. So it was all about bringing the conference to South Africa. And you know, as the saying goes, if Muhammad doesn't go to the mountain, then the mountain will have to come to Muhammad. And, you know, whilst watching the weekly ICC webinar, Dr. Kogilam Kirti Archery had an idea. And the idea was to bring the ICC to South Africa for a conference and a tour. And she had a plan. She definitely had a plan. So the first matter on the agenda was to approach Mr. J.S. Singh, and he's a youngster of 94 years and the president of the 1860 Verulam Indentured Labourers Society Foundation. And he was consulted, and needless to say, he was definitely on board. So the next slide, please. I do have music, but I don't hear it, so I don't know what's going on there. So the vision of the conference. Dr. Archery brought together a group of people, and many of them hold full-time employment, to host this international conference about an issue which she is absolutely passionate about. And if you speak to her, you will definitely realize where her passion lies. And it is about the indentured laborers in South Africa. And the theme for the conference was very befitting because it was 165 years ago that our forefathers came to South Africa. So it was basically to commemorate the 165th anniversary of the arrival of the Indian indentured laborers to the colony of Natal. Thank you. The next slide, please. So we have two committees that hosted this conference in association with the ICC, and that was the local organizing committee, which comprised of 11 members. It was Mr. J.S. Singh, Kogilam Kirti Archery, Naresh Kumar Singh Nash, who is now, I believe, Shalima, your brother, Kiveshni Naidu, Professor Kiveshni Naidu, who was the conference convener, myself, the secretary. I'm going to say Advocate Gopal because I don't want to pronounce his name incorrectly, and he was in charge of the finances. Vita Sukaran, a very, very important member as well, president of the Natal Blind and Deaf Society, and she was one of the people that went out and got funding for this project. Mr. Danny Govender as well, who you will see on the screen there. Deva Rakshanam Govindan, who we affectionately call Auntie Betty, Fozia Peer, and Kashmir Pratap. Now, these were the people that were the local organizing committee. And if you look at the picture, you will see that we had our first meeting on the 13th of March, 2025 at the offices of the Natal Blind and Deaf Society. And that was the first time that we had met each other. I knew Kogi, but it was the first time that I had met the other participants in this organization. And we came away from that meeting with a lot of hope, a lot of ideas on the conference. And clearly, the way Kogi outlined it to us, there was definitely a plan in place. The next picture at the bottom is the 1860 Indentured Laborers Foundation Bedlam. Most of the members are there. There are some that are missing, but it's J.S. Singh, Maggie Archery, who is Kogi's mom, Roy Raghubir, Shirley Jairaj, Narayan Rajbansi, Kogi Archery, Anisha Raghubir, Shanta Bal Gobind Singh, Anand Jairaj, Uma Totaram, and Naresh Kumar Singh. These people actually added so much of value to the conference as well. They were our ground people, our go-to people as well, ever willing to assist in whatever way was required. The next slide, please. So when Kogi spoke to the ICC, it became very imperative that we had to find a venue. And with no funding and limited resources, we actually had no money in the bank because we didn't even have a bank account at that stage. We had to find a venue, one that was affordable and able to meet our needs. And thanks to our photographer, who has become such an integral part of our organization, Mr. Kevin Joseph, we were introduced to Mr. Jayendra Ram Nandlal, or who we call Jay, who very graciously offered us the use of his venue. And I must say that they not only provided the venue, but also catered the breakfast, the lunch, and the afternoon beverages. The Alp West Institute for Future Tech was where the conference was held. And he had such a lovely group of people that worked with him, and they became our family, the Alp West family as well. They were ever willing to accede to any of our requests, and they took very good care of both us and the delegates as well. The next slide, please. So this was an international collaboration, and the planning began in earnest. And as luck would have it, Mohammed was more than happy to come to the mountain. So Shalima Mohammed and Dr. Kumar Mahabir, who you all are very, very, very aware of, very well known on this platform, made the long journey across the Nila Akash. And I had to say that because I think it is so important the way that they traveled on the plane across the blue skies compared to when our indentured laborers came to South Africa over the Kalapani and in a boat which they didn't even know was going to make the journey. And it's such a difference, you know. So I think it was so apt for me to say that. And so we saw the great minds meeting, our Mr. J.S. Singh meeting Dr. Kumar Mahabir and Shalima as well. The next slide, please. So we received 52 abstracts to the call for papers. The first abstract was from Mr. Anand Jairaj, and the last abstract was from Professor Blessing Karumbitsa Kasitole. And this abstract came in 2 days before the conference could start. And, you know, us being so giving and open about it, we wanted everybody to share in this conference to make them feel that they were part of something, because it was really, really a great event, history in the making, I think, for all of us here. And so we accommodated everyone that submitted an abstract. Of course, some people didn't go through with the final presentation, but for the most, it was just very minimal. I think about 2 or 3 people that didn't really go through with the presentation, but we had 52 abstracts that were submitted for consideration. In addition, we had 2 fireside chats, and the first one was on Christianity, and that was by Mr. Noah Israel, Dr. Betty Govenden, Ms. Shamay Naya, and Dr. Connie Israel. And then the second one was a Muslim fireside chat, and it was Dr. Imtiaz Suleiman, who is very well known here in South Africa. He's a humanitarian. If you Google him, you will find such good information about him. Very giving, a medical doctor. Mr. Mohammed Baksh, who is now residing in Canada, but I think he's from Guyana, right, Shalima? And then, of course, our Shalima Mohammed and Dr. Kogilam Archli. We also had 2 documentaries that were submitted and that was screened as well. The first one was Dr. Sushi Gupta from India, and the second one was Firoz Amir Khan and Pawan Maher, and they both reside in the Netherlands, but they do have roots here in South Africa, because I think their grandmother initially came to South Africa, to Natal, and then she moved from South Africa elsewhere. So that was very interesting, very nice documentaries as well. And they made a lot of connections here in South Africa for the screening of that their documentaries, and also they are in the process of filming another documentary here in South Africa as well. The next slide, please. So there was generous hospitality, as you will probably hear from Shalima and Dr. Mahabir as well. And we were treated to very sumptuous dinners. The first night, the dinner was sponsored by Maritime Business Institute by Mr. J. Ram Kisoon and family, and it was held at the Jaipur Palace, which is one of our local restaurants here in Durban. And the second night, we were treated by Mancosa, the Management College of South Africa, which was founded by the late Professor Karodia. We were given a lovely presentation, and we were made aware of Dr. Karodia's vision. We were treated like royalty at both places as well. Such warmth, and we had lots of friends and delegates with us on both these nights. The next slide, please. So this was a gala dinner that we had. It was at the Mount Edgecombe Conference Center, and we had the gentleman from the Indian Consul General, Mr. Prem Sagar, who was our guest and keynote speaker on that night. We would like to say a very, very big thank you to Denzel and Kogi Maestri of the Mount Edgecombe Conference Center, who allowed us the use of the venue to host the gala dinner. And there you will also see a picture of all of us with Dr. Betty Govenden, Kogi Archery, and the rest of us, Denzel, Kogi, Shirley, Nash, Naren, all of us there, Kiveshni, just making merry and letting our hair down, I think, after the conference. The next slide, please. So these are our sponsors. Our sincere thanks and appreciation for their generous contributions to the Indian Consulate General for the cultural event. And you will see Thelma John David with our advocate Gopal, Mr. J.S. Singh, and Dr. Betty Govindon as well. And then we had another sponsorship from Afro India Rolling Mills and the Mount Edgecombe Conference Center, who sponsored the venue for the gala. And we would like to take this opportunity to thank each and every person and organization who contributed to the success of the conference and the tour, because we have received such good feedback telling us what a well put together conference it was. So hats off to everybody that pulled up their sleeves and managed this conference so well. Our next slide, please. So after the conference, we want to say our special thanks to and appreciation for the generous contributions to all that facilitated the tours to Port Shepstone in the South Coast, Pietermaritzburg, Howick, Durban, Verulam, the 1860 Heritage Center, Phoenix, Mount Edgecombe, Chatsworth, Stanger. And we would like to thank each and every person and organization who contributed to the success of the conference and the tour, because we certainly went to lovely places that you don't normally see. So those that our international delegates were really in for a treat. They really saw places of interest, places where the indentured laborers settled, built schools, houses, temples, mosques, churches. So it was really a great event, a great tour for them, seeing places that you wouldn't normally ordinarily see if you go with a tour group. The next slide, please. So this was our itinerary for the 6-day tour. And you will see it's the North Coast, the South Coast, going up to Howick and Stanger to Pietermaritzburg, the places where Nelson Mandela was captured, the capture site, the places like Howick Falls and other places of interest. We also went to Phoenix to the Gandhi Memorial Settlement as well. We went to the Mariamman Temple, which has lots of faith, and we really had a lovely time at all these places. The Hare Krishna Temple in Chatsworth as well, the Fragrance Street Market in Chatsworth, the Sri Gopalal Temple, which has a lot of history, especially with Mahatma Gandhi ji as well. And then also during this time, it was the ceremony of Raksha Bandhan, the tying of the string of protection for your brothers. And Shalima inherited quite a few brothers here in South Africa, lasting relationships, I'm sure. And I'm sure their blessings are with her as well. Next slide, please. So these are conference memories now. If you look at the first photo, you will see our Dr. Kogilam Kirti Archery with a packet in her hand. And in that packet, there are shawls. And these shawls were made by Thelma Rasson. And the fabric, which are silk saris, was donated to us by the Sri Mariamman Temple in Mount Edgecombe by Mr. Seelan Archery. And I've spoken to him about them as well. And he says that their organization donate these saris to all organizations that are looking for it. They make bandanas, they make bags, but we made shawls. And I think it's so befitting because every person that international delegate that came to the conference and people who went beyond the call of duty as well were felicitated with these shawls. So well done to Kogi for this great idea as well. And Kiveshni very lovingly kept a name for her, and she's now called the Shawl Auntie. And then in the next picture, you will see Shalima. Sorry, no, yes, the next picture on the slide, Shalima at the Aryan Benevolent Home, which is a home in Chatsworth, which caters to the old and the unwell, and also they do have a children's wing as well. So the tour made a stop there as well. The next picture on the slide is in Stanger, and then if you look to the my far right, which yeah, if you look there, you'll see Dr. Imtiaz Suleiman as well, who's receiving a lovely shawl from Kogi. You can see Vita and Shanta busy with the bags. They were part of the team that were putting the bags together. The bags were sponsored to us by Alpvest. And inside the bag, we had this was a goodie bag. We had T-shirts, we had a little pad with pens and some sweets as well, thanks to Vita, the KZN Blind and Deaf Society, who went out of their way to also get the T-shirts for us sponsored and put together the goodie bags as well. And then at the bottom, you will see Kiveshna, our conference convener, Advocate Gopal, Shalima, Mr. Baksh, our international guest, Dr. Suleiman, and of course, Kogi. In the next photo, you will see Seelan Archery from the Sri Mariamman Temple. And we had a wonderful cultural program there on the Sunday when we visited. So that was good. The next photo on the slide is of great, great importance because this is the place where our indentured laborers, our forefathers landed 165 years ago. So they made a visit to the spot and they marked their presence there. They offered marigolds and did a little bit of a prayer there as well. So that was very nice, I think, acknowledging them. And then the next photo, you will see some of our delegates with Vita. She also presented, and that is Dr. Satya from India. So it was so nice to have international delegates with us as well. Next slide, please. This is Selvin Naidu at the 1860 Heritage Center. They had a Women's Day program, and Shalima presented there as well. And the next picture on the top, that is Mr. Charles from the Liberty Conference Center here in Effingham. And he very generously allowed us the use of his venue for an evening of fun where we had Nagara. And I think there was a lot of comparison to the chutney Nagara music that you have in Trinidad and Tobago, but it was great fun. And also everybody got to try the famous bunny chow. We don't have a picture of that, but I'm sure we'll certainly find one and we'll post it sometime. Just below that, there's a little young gentleman there, young Master Siddharth Lakshman. He started the conference by blowing the conch, and that is so significant because it's supposed to purify the air, create good vibes. So that was so symbolic, I think, of the conference. And I just want to say thank you to everybody for allowing him to participate. He was our youngest participant at 10 years old. So that's Siddharth Lakshman for you. And then we have some other pictures here of other people that was at the conference, Mr. Bobby Naidu, Shirley and Anand Jairaj, who were our Uber drivers, taking our delegates, fetching them, taking them back to the airport, and basically just transporting them wherever they needed to go. And also Anisha Raghubir there, who also did that. Next slide, please. So this was at the Gandhi Memorial in Phoenix. You will see there's a spinning wheel there, which we managed to take a photo. There's one there you will see, which is the smallest one as well. And then standing there at the monument with Kasturba Gandhi and Gandhiji himself. And the one with the lady with the sugarcane on her head and the gentleman with it on his shoulder, that's at the Sri Mariamman Temple. They have a peace pillar at the establishment, and this is in commemoration of our indentured. It's a heritage monument in commemoration of our forefathers that came to South Africa. You will see also towards the right-hand side at the bottom, our bags that were packed for the conference, the goodie bags. A lot of work went into it and a lot of sponsorship. So we want to say thank you to each and everyone that assisted with that. The next slide, please. So this was some of the international arrivals. And if you look at it, I can't really see here, but they came from Trinidad and Tobago, India, Suriname, Canada, Netherlands, Australia, the United Kingdom, United States of America, Guyana, and Mauritius. And it was so nice having all these international delegates at the conference. You will Shobi, everybody knows Shobi, part of the ICC, Shalima and Dr. Kumar, Sahil Desai, um, Dominique and Atrey, and you can see Brinda and Nursing, and of course Savi and Ramesh Ram Logan. So a great collage of all the international. These were not all of them, just some of the international delegates or attendees to the conference. The next slide, please. Okay, so this is a generosity slide now, and you know everybody's been so generous and giving. The first picture is from the Sri Gopalal temple, where we were all given certificates of participation because it was during Gita week. So we attended the satsang and had a lovely congregation. If you look at the bottom picture, and then you've got a picture with J. Ram Nandlal, Dr. Mahabir, and Shalima Nash and Kogi. There was a presentation done there. And the other picture, Shalima and Dr. J. Singh, Mr. J. Singh, and Mr. Singh publicly proclaimed that now Shalima is his other daughter apart from Kogi. So welcome to the Singh Parivar, Shalima. The next slide, please. Okay, so more generosity. There were lots of books that were given away as gifts. And also at the Sri Gopalal temple, there was a presentation. So everywhere that we went, Shalima and Dr. Mahabir made it a point of getting everybody to sign a card and hand it to the organizers of that event. And this is exactly what's happening here at the Sri Gopalal temple. They were also, if the picture right at the bottom to my left, you will see Dr. Mahabir and Kogi, Shalima, Dr. Devi Rajab. They had hosted them for a luncheon, I think, in this picture. And so that's a lovely picture there, a memento. And then if you look at this very dashing gentleman in the leather jacket, that is our Kevin Joseph, the one that was responsible for putting us in contact with Mr. J. Ram Nandlal and ensuring that we had a good venue for the conference. To the my extreme right, you will see a group photo, Ashwin Desai. I actually can't see the picture because, yes, Ashwin Desai and Selvin from the 1860 Heritage Site, Dr. Mahabir, Robin Sula from Radio Christie, Prem Ram Lakshman. So yes, lots of lovely memories. The one directly below that and the one right at the bottom is Ash. And Ash was one of our IT support people. He came on board at the last minute, and thank you to Mancosa for allowing him to be part of the conference. He provided great technical support. So thank you, Ash. At the bottom, right at the bottom, there's our other IT guru, Kishveer Pratap, with Shalima and also Farhana, who assisted with the registration and the dietary requirements. So thank you to all of them for their part in this conference. And of course, Vita and yours truly, me, with the t-shirts and the goodie bag. And as I did say, Vita is the president of the KZN Blind and Deaf Society. So they've got a big walk coming up as well this weekend. And they would love any support in terms of participation at the big walk. So there's some advertising for you, Vita. The next slide, please. So, as Shalima and Dr. Mahabir will tell you, the food was good. Very, very good. We've got Ragini and her husband. They're busy cooking on the gas stove. And I think that was the trutters and beans night, right, Shalima? And then, of course, lots of food. Shalima and Dr. Mahabir, everywhere they went, they were full to capacity with food. I think in one day they had like they made 4 stops and they were forced to eat at each stop. And then, of course, there you can see our conference convener and her husband, Kiveshni and Rodney, enjoying the lunch at the Elf Fest. They did serve lovely lunches to all the delegates as well. The picture on the top, yes, that's a group picture. It's the last night before everybody departed, and we were hosted to a dinner at Little Gujarat. It's a restaurant which is not far from the conference center. And so Mr. Arya and his wife, Sadhana, wanted to host us for dinner to say thank you. They were so overwhelmed with the hospitality and generosity of everybody here in South Africa and all the people that befriended them and assisted in whatever way possible, that they invited everybody to a supper. And it was a night of merrymaking, of fun, and just spending quality time with one another. So thank you, Mr. and Mrs. Arya, for that very fun time and for the lovely memories as well. If you look at my earrings, these are gifts from Mr. and Mrs. Arya. It was the day before the India independence celebration, and he wanted us to, he tried to get us earrings that were the same color as the Indian flag, the Tiranga. And so we had to pin it on our clothes and sing the national anthem, the Indian national anthem. And that was so beautiful and touching. And it also made us realize that he was born in India, but he had moved to Australia, and, you know, the feelings that he felt about leaving Bharat Ma as well. The next slide, please. So the conference memories continue. The first picture, that is the bus. You know, they say the wheels of the bus go round and round, and the bus really did take us places. We had such great support from the bus company and also the drivers, very patient, very careful, good company as well. Anisha and Roy Raghubir, who were also on the tour, all the tours. And then you've got a whole host of other pictures. Yes, Kogi draping Mr. J.S. Singh with a shawl. You've got J. Ram Nandlal, myself, Kiveshni, and Raisha, who is part of the Alpes family. The picture at the 1860 Heritage Conference, that is Ela Gandhi that I see there, and Shalima also presented at that conference as well. The next slide, please. Okay, so this is more conference memories. This was the Mshlanga Hindu Society. They did host us one evening as well. And this is their mandir, their temple, and all their lovely murtis, people at the Amshlanga Hindu temple as well. If you look at the picture at the bottom, there's the three of us, but you should really concentrate on the handsome gentleman there, and that's Danny Govender, and he facilitated this evening at the Amshlanga Hindu temple. So thank you, Danny, and I must tell you, Danny has his own business, but he put everything on hold for that week just to be with all his international parivar and friends, taking them around and just giving support. Oh, thank you, Suman Kapoor. I love these earrings as well. Thank you. Yes, so Danny put his business on hold for that week just to accommodate everybody. And most of our delegates here from South Africa, our ground staff, our people in the different organizations, adjusted their schedules to accommodate the conference and the tour as well. The next slide, please. So in closing, we came as strangers and left as family. A touching farewell from Mr. and Mrs. Ram Logan. And I'd like to read it to you. It says, "Dear Dr. Archly, Savi and Ramesh Ram Logan wishes to say thank you to yourself and all the members of the various committees who entertained us, educated us, transported us, befriended us, and looked after us during our stay in South Africa. We came as strangers and left as family. 13th August 2025. And yes, it was definitely very, very, very sad to say goodbye to everybody. I've actually got something in my throat now because of all the emotions. And we did come together as a family. We felt that's a part of us was leaving when all the international delegates were leaving for home. And I think they felt the same as we did as well. And we made a pledge that we would keep in contact. We would be a parivar, a family, and it's all due to the coming together of the ICC, the 1860 Indentured Labourers Foundation, Verulam, and the LOC, the Local Organizing Committee. And we'd like to say thank you to everybody who participated, who was part of this conference and the tour. I know that I probably left someone out. And if you could go back to the last slide, please. I know I probably left somebody out. And from the bottom of my heart, I would like to apologize if we did leave anybody out because it's not intentional. There were just so many photos, so many people that were involved. I just wanted to let you see the picture to the extreme, my extreme right, and it's till next time. And that is our Dr. Archie planning for the next conference, Shalima. So from me, Hazel, thank you for listening. Thank you for being part of the conference and the tour. Until we meet again.
Hazel, you've kind of made me quite emotional too. All these
I'm
memories.
sorry.
Are you really?
Oh, I am. It's been terrible because I think for 3 nights in a row, I said to you, Shalima, goodbye. I'm not going to see you again. And then Kogi would say, let's say goodbye. And then we would come back and say goodbye. And then the next night, it's like, oh no, let's go and say proper goodbye. So it was 3 nights in a row. I said to you, Shalima, I'm not going to see you again. And then I'd pop up.
I know.
Kogi really
really
did make a great effort to get everybody together. And I think, everybody that was involved in this conference actually gained so much from it. And I was actually chatting to Vita yesterday, and she's the stories that she had to tell me because she went back and she looked at her family history, and it's also made me want to go back and explore my family roots as well. So thank you for that. And I know, I must say to all of you that I've been getting so many good emails from people talking about the conference and how happy they were to be part of it and how wonderful it was. But they also want to know about the outcomes. And I'm sure that Shalima, you and Kogi are going to talk about the outcomes from this because there has been so much of positivity from it as well.
Well, you've done such an excellent presentation. I'm sure everyone has a good idea as to what went on. So at this point, let's introduce the final presentation as well as the resolution. That's an excellent way to introduce it. So can we have that now, please, Daryl? Thanks.
Close our presentations. We started on Sunday, here we are on Tuesday afternoon, and I think that we really, really had an amazing conference. Round of applause. Our presenters were phenomenal. Thank you very much to all the presenters for your hard work, your preparation. So ladies and gentlemen, many people have asked the question. So we've been talking, we've been debating, and we've created controversy. So what next? Okay? So I'm now going to hand over to Ms. Shalima Mahabir. I forgot the name. Sorry. You see, I'm tired, guys. Sorry. Sharima Mohammed to take us through with the closing remarks. She's been making copious notes, Arun. She doesn't have a 15-minute presentation. But I think that it's fair that we give her the opportunity to close the session and take us through what next. We're all waiting. I see Ms. Rajvansi is shaking her head there at the back. She's waiting to see what next. Over to you, my dear. And apologies for the incorrect name.
Take it off, just like last time.
So, ladies and gentlemen, I'm very pleased that the final panel today was all about education. Because all of us are gathered here simply to be enlightened, and it's what we do at the ICC more than anything else, and I think the LOC as well, in coming out of the 1816 Legislators Foundation, is seeking to do the same thing. At the end of the day, what we want to ensure is that 2 generations, 3 generations, and 4 generations from now can feel the way we did. Prem described it as what, a homecoming? And so we need to wonder whether 5 generations from now will feel that level of homecoming. When Professor Church was playing for Dr. Betty, when you started with Ehsan Tera Hoga, Narelle and I felt the same way. We had only met in this country, we didn't know each other before, and yet we could feel that song, we knew the words and everything coming from what you were playing in response to her request. How do we ensure that this thing remains a homecoming 5 generations from now? I've decided that the title for this particular resolution, which we will end this conference with, couldn't just come from one voice, it had to come from others in the diaspora as well. And so, in conjunction with one of your very own, Shamin Thakur Rajvansi, as well as Professor Chan Chuni from the Netherlands, as well as Dr. Shadanan Hadnandan Singh, who's originally Surinamese, also in the Netherlands, Dr. Kumar Mahabir, obviously. And Kogi and they are only now hearing of this. It is yet to be discussed, but I need agreement from all of you. Let's entitle this thing Strengthening the Comitial Legacy through Cooperation in Research, Education, and Archival Digitization. Considering that the descendants of Gomitias is Professor Ashwin Desai here? No? I can use the word Gomitia, okay? Okay. Considering that the descendants of Gomitias spread across 5 continents, share a common history of indenture, displacement, resilience, and cultural survival. These communities in Mauritius, Guyana, Trinidad and Tobago, Suriname, Fiji, South Africa, and elsewhere have significantly contributed to the development of their host nations while preserving deep cultural, religious, and ancestral ties to India. At the International Conference on Indentured Labor in Durban, 2025, a growing global consensus has emerged on the urgent need for collaborative research, higher education, and I'm adding the digitization of both known and hidden archives related to the Gomitia experience. Recognizing that many relevant records remain fragmented, poorly preserved, or inaccessible, and are scattered across India, the United Kingdom, the Netherlands, France, in libraries, in boxes, and former colonies. Initiatives such as the Indo-Caribbean Cultural Center's Thought Leaders Forum, the Global Gomitia Lineage Archives and Searching Center, and the emerging interdisciplinary field of Gomitiology offer vital platforms for reconnecting family lineages, expanding academic knowledge, and strengthening the identity of Gomitia descendants. In his keynote speech of January 7th, 2025, during Pravasi Bharatiya Divas, the Honorable Prime Minister Narendra Modi of India expressed the Government of India's intention to provide structural attention and engagement with Gurmatiya communities across the world. The conference hereby resolves to establish a global Gurmatiya academic and archival cooperation framework to be called Brain Gain College Gurmatiology, aiming to A. Promote partnerships between universities, archives, museums, and diaspora institutions. B. Enable the standardization, restoration, and digitization of Gurmatiya-related archival records. C. Support intergenerational knowledge transfer and identity formation through bachelor's, master's, and PhD programs in Gurmatiology. To formally submit this resolution with a jointly signed petition by Gurmatiya organizations worldwide, including yours here, to the Government of India, requesting A. The inclusion of Gurmatiya heritage within India's official diaspora and cultural education policies. B. Governmental support for digital archiving and access to relevant records in India and abroad. C. Strategic collaboration with initiatives such as those outlined earlier and academic institutions involved in Gurmatiology. To call upon the United Nations, UNESCO, and the International Council on Archives to endorse and support this initiative as part of a global effort toward archival justice, cultural restoration, and the recognition of historically displaced communities. This is to be adopted as of today at this, the International Conference on Endangered Labour 2025. Who will second this resolution? Definitely, I need the conference chair. I'm happy to see your hand up. Thank you all very much. The documents are going to be circulated for your signatures. Ladies and gentlemen, I thank you.
Actually, since you love giving presents, and this is really beautiful. Is there some significance to this, Dr. Archery? So now this is multicultural, and Ms. Shalima, you need to have a PC Zulu name. Not that you're losing your identity, but yes. Round of applause. Thank you everyone. Give a round of applause. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Gentlemen, I do not want to hold you anymore. I hand over to Ms. Nalini, and she'll take over the session. Well done. Thank you.
Hello everyone. So we have the best till the last. This is the last panel, and the theme is literature and education. The first speaker will be Betty Govindan. Betty is an honorary research associate, School of Social Sciences, University of KwaZulu-Natal, and founder of the member of this circle of concerned African women theologians, and has contributed to several circle publications. Some of her publications include A Time of Memory, Sisters Outsiders, and Words on Water. So, I'll hand over to Betty.
We begin by acknowledging the land on which we meet. We acknowledge the indigenous peoples of this land. We are children of the universe. Indeed, our larger connectivities across time and space, we also bear in our individual and collective lives the warrior marks of our particular histories with their multiplicity of being. Alongside the trauma of uprooting and loss of identity, of home, of homeland, we reflect on the way the displaced exiled travelers forged a new camaraderie and identity through this very rupture and translation, both physically and spiritually. Something of this métissage emerging from the journey outwards and inwards, and from a deep longing for transcendence in different forms, is intimated through the poetic and the musical. Elif Shafak's imagined "There are rivers in the sky" suggests this connectivity across time and space. The poetic pieces or collages I have composed are drawn from several sources, invoking something of the lived duality of land and of sea, the choral imaginary, and its interplay in the lives of the migrants, the travelers. I also intimate the undulating waves of the sugarcane fields in indentured experience that resemble the rhythms and movements of the oceanic crossings, with both the land and the oceanic experiences intertwined and imprinted in the psyche of the at once intrepid and fearful travelers. It is for this reason that the music that Professor Chatsdev offers is more than an accompaniment, but at the very heart of the presentation, capturing as only music can the ineffable and inexpressible, the submerged and the subterranean. Ben Okri writes of the landscape within, the hinterland of our individual and collective psyche, and the drumming of the parai by young Dalit women in South India expresses beyond words the cri du corps, the song of the outcome. Yes, in the final analysis, the histories of indenture, of slavery, of apartheid, and other atrocities to this very moment, and their inestimable toll include, but transcend and go beyond the factual and archival, the narrative and expository, the analytical and discursive. As Victor Hugo states in Les Miserables, the music that expresses that which cannot be put into words, and it's music that cannot remain silent. Music expresses that which cannot be put into words, and that which cannot remain silent. Carl Taraboli, who's from Mauritius and France, a good friend, who writes about coolitude, ponders over the same hands used to the tabla, often attuned to the ravans, the ravan is a drum in Mauritius, attuned to the ravan's great cry of hearts adrift, the same hands that engage in the cutting of the cane on the field, and now the hands here that emerge from a line of indentured servitude that play the bansuri, the flute of the infinite. My first poem is the one I composed when we offered marigolds to the sea to mark the 163rd anniversary of the arrival of Indian indentured laborers to Natal. On the seashore of endless worlds, we gather at the water's edge. The milky sky above beholds the human tableau as the wind blows sand in our faces and the incessant waves waft in, waft out. Ancient sea histories wash across the shore, mingling with histories of the land. Billows of sugarcane heaving, breaking, crashing in motion. We gather today to offer marigolds to the Indian Ocean, the seas that churned our ancestors to this land, scattered in the gales of continents, in the currents of colonies. Our oblations of gold are buffeted by the waves. Our histories crash, collide, merge as seagulls fly. We are of the earth and sky and air and fire. Our homage of gold, flotsam and jetsam over the heavens, ceaselessly rising and falling in the sacred dance of remembrance. An earlier poem that I composed for the 150th anniversary of the arrival of indentured laborers to South Africa was presented in 2010, the time when I had breast cancer. This poem celebrates the Kalapani, the crossing of the black waters of the Indian Ocean from India, the place of birth, to another land, and the challenges of home and identity on different soil. It was presented at the Sabaya Casino when we had Rajesh Gopi's play, The Coolie Odyssey, and when my dear friend here, Thailand Reddy, was awarded with the gold medal of the English Academy of Southern Africa. Tumbling from the great ghats in India to the holding places in Port Natal, ushered in by the capricious tide, crossing the Kalapani, children of the rain and storm, buffeted by waves, stitching fragments of self, patched together in the waters of the voyage, finding anchors in the wind, fated to be vagabonds of identity, their history sinewed to their bones, tilling in coolie cane fields, learning the language and law of foreign shores, toiling for tea for empire, castaways, stone bodies and compounds, preserving the ancient hearth with laddus and rasgullas, the remembrance of things past, lighting the family god lamp with suppliant hands, watched by the stars, working with new kith and kin for freedom to sprout on parched land, mingling blood and water to forge a new people, a new heaven and a new earth, heaving the sheaves of yesterday, this harvest of memory, new beatitudes for our time and place. tells the story of Maestri, drawing from the historical account from Inside Indenture by Ashwin Desai and Ghulam Vahed. Maestri leaves his wife in India, comes to Durban, and works as a Dobie model. He finds a new partner in Durban. He goes back to India after Indian independence and finds that his wife has died. He then returns to South Africa. Adrift in the middle of the ocean, there are no routes to show me where I am going. But I know at the end of my days I will return to the land of my birth. This pact makes each day tolerable. I press on. Life is hard here, this life of Dobie Waller. I give my sweat smiling for my master, washing in this hotel, non-stop from daybreak to sunset. I feel the pull of Vande Mataram, crossing the seas. The waves take me forward, the waves take me back. The cane is singing in my ears. The waves of sugarcane. I wait for the grand homecoming. 40 years I dreamed of this moment. All is changing here. I see flags all over. The people walk with their heads held high. The villagers point me to your grave. I walk to it slowly, stand bereft. Before this mound of earth, autumn leaves and grass. My eyes are dry beyond tears. I must return, cross the seas. The cane fields are calling me back, swishing and swaying, the law of my servitude, coolitude, under the tropical sun. In the next poem, I go in search of my grandmother's garden. My grandmother, whose gardens were the tea fields in Kersney on the north coast, when she arrived with her family from Andhra Pradesh in 1904, when she was around 7. To my grandmother, the light streams through the cracks, haunting lines, specters, shards of memory, dancing patches on the crumbling walls, sunlight on broken column, derelict and silent, stone bodies on the coolie lines. Your sari hitched to your waist, you toil from morning till sunset, the open spaces of the hills and dales, your allotted prison, under the African sky. Nimble fingers picking leaf by leaf by leaf, you become lettered in the ways of the fields, reading the hills and dales, writing your name in the wind, wafting it across the seas. The lush green hills of leaves hoisted up, spread out to dry, on shelves lined with hessian. You turn the leaves hour by hour by hour to catch the rays of the African sun. You work for a shilling a month. A long shadow is cast over the hills and valleys of Kersney, abandoned by history, across the Kolapani to the hills of Bezwada in Andhra Pradesh. The river Krishna, flowing old and languid, catches glimpses fleeting of the old tea factory under the African sun. Dancing on the waters over hills and valleys, wind-swept with longing, my spirit forever entwined with yours. I have come in search of your dreams, growing in your garden, submerged in air, under the African sky.
and also national examiner in English, and among he served as academic editor in the School of Management, IT and Governance at the University of KwaZulu-Natal, Westby campus.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Actually, after seeing Devi and Robin and Selvan and Chiru, you know, one gets a little intimidated. But I feel privileged and honored to be invited by this wonderful organization, which is doing such great work. And my topic today is deconstructing John Samuel on reaching the parameters of apartheid and beyond. In the beginning, says the Holy Book, was the Word. And the Word was with God, and the Word was God. And in the Spirit of the Divine, there was a man sent from God, whose name was John. The same came for a witness, to bear witness of light, that all men through him might believe. He was not that light, but he was sent to bear witness of that light. This was the true light, which lighteth every man that cometh into the world. That come from the book of John, King James Version. It was in this essence of the sublime that John Samuel became a bearer of witness to the South African drama unfolding before him in a disconcerting manner. His experiences and intense feelings which challenged his humanity compelled him into penning his thoughts, beginning from his time as a student in Tongla in the north coast of KwaZulu-Natal. This analysis attempts to focus on Samuel as an early literary subversive. The observation of Franz Fanon, the French-Algerian philosopher and writer, bear relevance. Quotation. We are nothing on earth if we are not, first of all, slaves of a cause, the cause of the people, the cause of justice, the cause of liberty. John Samuel declares that love, apartheid, and absence were his dominant themes in his poetry, which reflect his experiences in the land of his birth, South Africa, as well as his sojourns in Zambia, Ghana, and England. Samuel has held senior position with SACED, the ANC Education Policy Division, the Kellogg Foundation, the Nelson Mandela Foundation, and the Oprah Winfrey Leadership Academy of Girls. His poems have been published in the Classic, Staff Rider, The Thinker, and Transition. Samuel's other literary projects include celebrating the struggle of the Reverend John Chilemba, a Malawian liberation icon who, with the same radical missionary zeal as Archbishop Desmond Tutu, fought against British imperialism in the beginning of the 19th century. Drawing inspiration from the Reverend Robert Godfrey's collection of bird stories, The Bird Law of the Eastern Cape Province, and informed by his own passion for ornithology, Samuel crafted his most recent text, Winged Words, as a poetic representation of his earlier work. Samuel's early poetry caught the eye of a renowned literary critic, Edward Bishop, who made the following observations on the poetry of Samuel during an interview in 1969 on the BBC Writers' Club. And Bishop, who was from the BBC, said this: About 18 months ago, I talked on this program about the poetry of a young South African, John Samuel, poems sent from the secondary school in Zambia, where Mr. Samuel was then teaching. He's at the moment in England, and in fact, at the very moment, is here in the studio with me. Mr. Samuel, when in fact, what in fact brought you to England? And there was a response from John, and then Christian continues. I found those poems you sent me last year, John, as I said on the program. I found them very moving for what they said, largely about the South African situation. I found them very astringent, austere, and stark. I think to remind us of those earlier poems, I'd like you to read one called Behold the Fear. And John read this. This is a segment of the poem. Cruel blows the wind, that winter wind. Cold is the sky, the blue sky cold. The skeleton tree shivered, and the branches, brown and dry, cracked and lifeless, fell. Down to an earth, brown and dry, dusty and lifeless, like the tree, like the earth, stood a man on the ground. The winds blow fear, eyes see fear, hands touch fear, minds think fear, feet walk in fear. Fear. The other poems read during the BBC interview included Arriving in the New Land, A Dream, A Tale, and Come With Me. Some years later, in Zambia, he compiled and published a collection of his poems entitled I Remember in 1973, which included the aforementioned works. As an epiphany in this text, Samuel recalls the passionate words of Anna Akhmatova, and just as a nice idea, I believe Betty has also been visiting the residence, I think, of Anna. And these are the words. I remember them always, everywhere. I will never forget them, whatever comes. And if they gag my tormented mouth, with which 100 people cry, then let them remember thee. Now, with this stirring sentiments, I feel it is appropriate to pay tribute to Samuel, whose writings are so pertinent to the current socio-economic environment in South Africa. And the first work in his collection aptly reads, listen to the crying winds blowing through the leaves of my thoughts, intimately murmuring of times and places, always remembering. Man that is born of woman is a few days and full of trouble. He cometh forth like a flower and is cut down. He fleeth also as a shadow and continueth not. Those are lines from the book of Job. Now, these words aptly express the social realities of a beleaguered people in the South African milieu. The biblical imagery of human fragility becomes a powerful metaphor for the precarious existence of those living under the apartheid regime, where lives were systematically shortened, not by natural mortality alone, but by the deliberate violence of state oppression. While man's relationship with nature has been the subject of earlier South African poets such as Francis Gary Slater, Roy Campbell, and later such poets as Douglas Livingstone, Oswald Mishali, and Chris Mann, Samuel's sentiments in Behold the Fear reflect the anguish of a perturbed soul during the 50s and 60s of the last century. The starkness of the landscape resonates with the prevailing human condition, the sense of despair and of hopelessness. This poem highlights the emotional trauma that confronts the oppressed in the apartheid state and also finds kinship with a later poem by Saroti, which is gentle on the surface but with formidable undertones. And these are the words by Saroti. It is a dry white season, brother. Only the trees know the pain as they still stand erect, dry like steel, their branches dry like wire. Indeed, it is a dry white season, but seasons come to pass. Saroti's poetry often explores themes of identity, resistance, and how apartheid affected individuals and communities. Now, Saroti's dedication was no less a personality than the struggle stalwart and acclaimed poet Don Matero, who had declared that memory was a weapon and often used effectively in the writers in raising consciousness of the oppressed. It is interesting to note that while the faint ray of hope lurks in Saroti, Samuel expresses a deep anguish over the little or no respite from the wretched of the South African society. The South African historical narrative points to a pervasive wickedness, where the dispossession of African land by Dutch and British colonists was followed by myriad legislative impositions that were to cause human suffering on an unimaginative scale. Fatima Mir describes vividly how black resistance to white oppression resulted in organizations such as the Pan-African Congress, the African National Congress, and the Non-European Unity Movement working among the oppressed black communities. In March 1960, the PAC influenced members and supporters were encouraged to march to Philippi police station without their passes in defiance of the regime's law. The names of approximately 2,000 protesters were recorded, and they were told to come to court. During this period, however, in Sharpeville, Philiniki, the state unleashed one of its most brutal attacks in the history of the history, opening fire on peaceful demonstrators that left 69 dead and 180 were wounded, most of them shot from the back. Also in Langa, Cape Town, about 10,000 protesters were being charged by police, and 2 people were left dead. Race relations in the country were dealt a severe blow by these events, which resulted in even greater polarization between hegemonic whites and the oppressed black masses. Samuel was among the early literati who used poetry as a vehicle for social commentary and resistance, drawing upon personal experiences to articulate the struggles and aspirations of his community under apartheid. His memories of Sharpeville and the witnessing of the shooting of black workers who marched from Cato Manor into Durban when he was a student at what was then Natal University continued to haunt his consciousness, for he had declared that they have entered his mind, quotation, like darkness. And these agonizing thoughts found poetic expressions once again. Transfixed to that hour in time, with bullet speed as death ran through the exploded outside you, we hear your numbered names, the time, the place, all silent now. You teach us the moment of life. That's from a poet called Sharpeville, 1970. The language is one of immediacy, unadorned as we are impelled to confront the moment of life. What revelations are we privileged to experience? What lessons are we to glean from the history of tortured souls? While philosophy is there to understand the meaning of life, perhaps the following epigrams, aspiring to the aphorisms, offer us some insights into those numbered names, the time, the place. And this is the poem. My blackness is a reflection of your hate. My poverty is a reflection of your greed. My world of darkness reflects your ignorance. My lack, your exploitation. My death, your profit and loss. And my humanity is a reflection it is apt to recall the words of Christopher Tilly as they relate to the geographical location, and I'm grateful to Betty for the actual reference quotation. Places, like persons, have biographies in as much as they are formed, used, and transformed in relation to practice. Stories acquire part of their mythic value and historic relevance if they are rooted in the concrete details of locales in the landscape. Acquiring material reference points that can be visited, seen, and touched. The poems of Samuel offer repeated matching reference points in the recovery of our tortuous history. I'm going to just read two other poems because of time constraints. This is John going to England and arriving there, and of course has some very interesting experiences. And this is a poem called Arriving in a New Land. I have come to a new land with the air uncertain to find the strangeness and loneliness cutting into the quiet corners of my soul. Snow falls and covers the dirt into the underground in a new world that cuts off the sky and a demented woman muttering in circles. Bloody niggers. And this poem, of course, about the materialism that encompassed a lot of places in Africa, but also to be found, I think, in South Africa. And the Mercedes-Benz, and the palaces, and the parties, and the salary increases herald the impending revolution. Because of the constraints of time, I thought I'd just end up with one more poem, just to show that it is not, that John isn't always showing us some kind of unrelieved gloom. And because there is also one or two of his poems which show a very interesting eroticism, and one of them being My Silent Love, and another poem called The Return. And I want to conclude with this poem. I come to the crossroads, and you are not there. I have waited in the evening, and you are not there. Shall I stand in the shadows, in stillness, my dear? Or shall I walk out to meet you somewhere? Thank you.
We have Naren Rajan. Paper is Integrating Indentured History in Education, Challenges and Opportunities in the School Curriculum. Mr. Bansi is an educator by profession with 42 years of teaching experience and a year as admin clerk, retiring as acting deputy principal. Author of contemporary issues in religion studies within the school curriculum, and as well as editor of The Legend of Human Cargo. He has master's degree in arts, BA honours, Bachelor of Arts, and diploma in education, and diploma in resource centre management.
Thank you. My topic is sensitive, critical, and has some contradictions as well. And I think we need our views in this topic as well. It concerns you, your children as well. And it's called Integration of Indentured History in Education and the Challenges and Opportunities in the School Curriculum. In the dismantling of apartheid in South Africa in 1994, and becoming a democracy, our education system experienced a major paradigm shift in undergoing a colossal reassessment of its curriculum development, being implemented in 2000. There were much hype and expectations that this new curriculum would create a paradigm shift to an all-inclusive policy of indigenous knowledge system, hence decolonizing and bringing about an African renaissance in education. The school curriculum was not inclusive as one would have expected. There were very little evidence of oral history of indentured laborers in the development processes. The curriculum demonstrates much about colonial and black history at great lengths, while disregarding the oral history that indentureship has played in the South African context. It should have been inclusive, while demonstrating a true reflection of all inhabited this democratic state. The establishment of an area of opportunities, challenges, and perceptions generated through indentured immigration must be justifiable. From a broader perspective, one has to focus beyond one myopic vision to appreciate contribution made by the indentured laborers. Maoli, Salami, and Mukateni, 2015, noted, the education and curriculum were used to dehumanize and marginalize people, to propagate the legacy of domination and white supremacy. Natal found itself in dire straits, having been caught up in the throes of worldwide recession and was on the brink of financial ruin, economic collapse, and bankruptcy. It was the indentured laborers that rescued this British colony. On 28 April 1859, the Natal Mercury in its editorial stated, the fate of the colony hangs on a thread, and that thread is labor. As early as 1854, J.R. Saunders, a major sugarcane planter, made a special appeal in the same newspaper and said, for our sugarcane growing prospects, the Indians are indispensable. An article published in the Post Weekly edition on 10th of July 2019 states quite categorically, the fate of the colony hangs on a thread. The teaching of history in our schools was subjected to much political abuse and distortion during apartheid to justify a system of government based on the forced racial segregation. Much of the history that was taught in our schools tended to laud the achievements or milestones of whites only and relegate the historical experiences of people of color to footnotes. One of the greatest challenges facing us today is that building a cohesive national identity. A curriculum that is well structured and all-encompassing will unquestionably intensify sense of gratitude, indebtedness toward the diversity of our democracy. One of the principles of CAP's continuous assessment policy statement states that indigenous knowledge systems are to be valued, acknowledging the rich history and heritage of this country as important contributors to nurturing the values contained in the Constitution. And this is from the Department of Education 2011 curriculum, page 5. It tells us something else. And according to some of our academics, our favorite guy here, Professor Ashwin Desai, he says, the need for a balanced and comprehensive history, especially concerning the Indian experience in South Africa, and that the history of indentured labor should not be romanticized or simplified, as it involved complex situations of displacement, exploitation, and struggle. He further mentions the Zulu nation had not yet been defeated by the colonial powers and was reluctant to work on the farms, and indentured laborers filled this gap. The National Curriculum Assessment Policy Statement, the CAPS, was first introduced in South Africa in our South African institutions rather, in 1988 to bring about a paradigm shift to a major reform with the resolve to pave the way for transformation in the education system, eliminating all forms of discrimination. It is evident that before 1994, a biased and skewed race-based education accommodating a specific set of the population was in place. This had severe impact, creating challenges towards an impartial educational curriculum across the multiracial divide. This created an avenue for the National Curriculum Statement 2005, going through a period of transformation. The anticipation of the CAPS document, reintroduced in 2012, being reflective of all across the racial divide and inclusive in its entirety, was disappointing. Once again, the acknowledgement was given to the historiography of Indian indenture, exposing much bias. And it is imminent that the educational transformation endorsing that the imbalances of the past be reviewed and that equal educational opportunities are provided for all sections of the population. Now, the National Curriculum Statement, the NCS, from R to 12, very succinctly and unquestionably states, I quote, number 1, equipping learners, irrespective of socioeconomic background, race, gender, physical ability, or intellectual ability, while knowledge, skills, and values necessary for self-fulfillment and meaningful participation in society as citizens of a free country, and that inclusivity should become a central part of the organization, planning, and teaching at schools. Number 2, the National Curriculum Statement is sensitive to issues of diversity, such as poverty, inequality, race, gender, language, age, disability, and other factors. And these are very contradictory statements. So why does say this in the document, but it's not happening in our schools today? It's not. And that's a crime. Although this is brilliantly articulated in the school, in the social science curriculum, it is not representative of all who inhabit this country. Much of the history of indenture has been blatantly falsified or distorted, and it is time to eliminate all the misrepresentations and discrepancies. South Africa is a multiracial, multicultural, multi-religious, and multi-traditional country. Credibility needs to be accorded to the history of Indian indenture and given its equitable place in the school curriculum, as it identifies substantial influence of the Indian diaspora. If history is about learning how to think about the past, which affects the present and influences the future, and allowing us to evaluate these effects, then the curriculum must be effusively and demonstratively representative to determine inclusivity of all sections of society who live in it. Taylor, Morton, Lowe, and Stradom, 2013, mentions, many studies have highlighted that these inequalities stem from the horrible past of apartheid, a system of skewed political governance. This was further supported by Nkuba, Madikizela, and Mandia, stating, this affected the education sector, which had faced several challenges that hamper equal educational opportunities. It is also claimed by academics that the marginalization, and in particular Indian indenture, according to Ashwin Desai, once again, my favorite guy, this can be construed as an academic injury to learners, depriving them of an inclusivity of colonialism with emphasis on Indian indenture. It endorses social cohesion and transformation while embracing immeasurable consideration of the diverse history of our country. Ranjit Nobel, also quoted in the book The Coolie Immigrant, they will never be able to eradicate the knowledge of the extreme pain which the immigrant coolies suffered and deny the heavy price they paid with their life's blood so that the descendants might live in comfort and decency. At a national conference held by the National Labourers Foundation of South Africa, National Labourers Foundation of Berlin, at Salisbury College on the 17th of November 2018. 3 resolutions were accepted and adopted. Resolution 2 called for the Foundation to request the Department of Basic Education for the inclusion of Indian indenture in the school curriculum. This resolution was duly followed up, and a motivational package was submitted by the Foundation to the Department of Basic Education on 22nd April 2019. The Department of Education had confirmed that the submission will be represented to a completely independent ministerial task team that will be reviewing the history curriculum from grades 4 to 12 and will consult with all stakeholders when going about its work. On the 11th of June 2019, the National Labourers Foundation received a reply via email from the Director of FEG Training, Curriculum, Mrs. C. Weston, acknowledging that our request for the inclusion of Indian indenture in the history curriculum. She indicated that the Minister of Basic Education, Mrs. Angie Mutshekar, had appointed a task team to review the history of the curriculum from grade 4 to grade 12. It's now 7 years gone by and nothing has happened. Professor Labi Ramaratan, the Director of Schools of Education Studies of the University of KwaZulu-Natal, welcomed the idea of indentured Indian labour being part of the history curriculum, saying that indentured labour was part of the South African history. He also hoped that it would be included and it would promote social cohesion and would conscientize the South Africans about the history. Education Department spokesman Elian Slangas said the ministerial task was completely independent and would consult all stakeholders when going about its work. Professor C.V. Glover said there would be a strong emphasis on pre-colonial history in the new syllabus. There was a perception that history began in South Africa with the arrival of colonizers, and you want to get a total history of our people. While that is so well said, it's not happening. It's all in paper. 7 years have gone by, and we're still waiting for this to happen, unfortunately. Significant attributes of indenture. The development of education system during the apartheid era had failed to deliver proper social and educational services to all sectors of the racial divide. This system of education was used to marginalize non-whites from empowerment and to befit the interest of the colonial government. This mitigates the lack of information of Indian indenture in the history curriculum, notwithstanding the immense contribution made by the indentured laborers. Appreciating the Indian indenture in its appropriate and expressive context, it can underwrite valuable lessons to learners about colonialism, migration, labor system, and the landscape in an all-inclusive method and approach, and can enhance and amplify an indulgence of indebtedness of South Africa's rich tapestry and diverse history. Our forebears in South Africa came to colony in Natal in 1860 to work as laborers on the sugarcane plantation. While they faced many conditions, they played a pivotal role in acknowledging the value of education to improve their children's educational opportunities. With much anticipation, ensuring that the children could get good jobs and become prosperous, hence a way to improve the quality of life. And one such person that had a passion for education and for the people of South Africa, the indentured laborers, was Emil Sultan, where he had founded the Emil Sultan Technical College, that time it was. And now it's changed to German University of Technology. And he was responsible for bringing about the technical school to give up our people a chance in the trade industry. And he was very, very successful indeed. Another significant contribution, attribute, for the inclusion of indenture and taking into account the current stability of the Democratic Republic, one gets to understand and acknowledge the values of religion, race, creed, cultural background, and the creation of harmonious relationship of all inhabitants in democracy. This would include the experiences of all diverse inhabitants embracing the Indian diaspora. Our forebears have impacted positively in our country's development programs. Monuments and heritage sites. These sites serve as tangible reminders in shaping our shared history. It provides evidence of our history and the evolution of civilization. Just quickly, because my time is up. This serves as a reminder to our kids about history, and it brings back memories of our past. And we have monuments in our country. There are lots of monuments in our history books, but none of them talk about Indian indenture. Of late, we have in Maryland a bronze bas sculpture of an indentured family on a cane field. In Manishkan, we have two monuments. One is the Vildima Muniswami Muthiya commemoration of 108th death anniversary. A bust of Ganagaratnam Kesivilu Naidu, which was called the Coach Doctor. In Stanley, we have the sculpture commissioned by the Nitake Kingdoms Association. In the Midlands, however, we have monuments signifying the triumph of human spirit. In Durban, as you said earlier on, a proposed 1860 monument will include a bronze sculpture of an indentured family. I'm just going to conclusion and read the rest out. Time constraints. This paper demonstrates the implications of the current school social science curriculum and has presented and validated an overview account of the absence of the history of Indian indenture. As progenies of our indentured lineage, there is an irrepressible controversy justifying and securing the integration of our forebears in the academic arena. It would educate students about their history and ultimately foster a more inclusive, informed society while unveiling the elimination of injustices, discernment, and social discrimination. It is time for our education system to present the full range of indentured historiography, commemorating the legacy of those who resisted the gilded system, and establishing that their stories inspire and instigate future generations. It is therefore imperative that the inclusion of indenture in the school curriculum supersedes the historical periphery of the Indian community and countersigning South African history. This transition would remove all social injustices and prejudice and identifying and appreciating the culture of all races in the democratic South Africa, generating and bridging the gaps between all that inhabited, and endeavor to create an unprejudiced and conversant society. It is imperious that we do not allow the categories of Indian indenture to be forgotten in the footnotes of antiquity. Just one. Now that I've delivered this talk, where do we go from here? What now? What do we have now? Do we allow the legacy of our indentured labor to be forgotten in the footnotes of antiquity? I think it will be the task now of the LOC. From what we have gathered today in our messages, and also send a resolution adopted by the committee and send to the Department of Education. While we at the Digital Aid Foundation have done that, and 7 years have gone by, we hope that this organization now will take that forward to a resolution. Thank you.
Indeed, we will not allow indentureship to become just a footnote. That's an excellent way to end today's program. And ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank you all very much for participating today. I want to thank all of our speakers, all of our representatives, all the participants, and all those wonderful people in South Africa who sacrificed their time. They gave so freely of their time, their experience, knowledge, skills, and expertise. To all who participated in the conference as well as the tour, thank you, thank you, thank you. I'll let Shakira take over to formally close the program.
Thank you, Shalama. And we want to thank everyone for taking the time to attend today and to participate. And as we've said earlier, this meeting is being hosted by the Indo-Caribbean Cultural Center. And like today, we often partner with the Amina Ghafoor Institute for the Study of Indentureship and its Legacies, led by Professor David Dabydeen. And you can feel free to contact the ICC to publish your books. And remember that we are kindly asking for your suggestions. And if you give a donation, your name will be placed on our poster and all promotional materials. And you can contact Dr. Mahabir for details. Our topic next Sunday will be Living Legends number 5 with Mr. Ashok Ramsaran. So please, we look forward to that program. Please join us. We want to thank our planning team led by Dr. Kumar Mahabir and Shalama Mohammed, our IT consultants Daryl Grantham and Navin Mangal, and Daryl again for designing the poster. So please visit, like, and subscribe to our YouTube channel to see all our past recordings. I am Shakira Mohammed of Trinidad and Tobago saying goodbye. May God bless you all. Dhanyavad.